Welcome everybody. It's good to have you here. I'm very excited about this. My name's Martin Brossman and Karen Teedy. We both co-teach, co-develop the program, the Social Media Management Certificate Program that's going to be offered here at State. Tonight we're going to cover intros, history of the program, what it takes, why take this program, the anatomy of the program, some of the benefits, and then what occurs after you graduate from the program as well. So it's going to be the fundamentals of what we offer, but also the payoff and benefit afterwards. So anyway, a little bit about myself. I left IBM in 1995 and became an independent success coach on my own, working with people, and then around 2005-06, one of my top paying clients said, go learn LinkedIn and tell me if it's worth my while. I went over and started learning LinkedIn. I became kind of the evangelist in the area of LinkedIn and went, oh my gosh, the world is changing, and everyone thought I was nuts. And I said, we're gonna live in this like augmented reality, and we're gonna, we need to learn this stuff. And went to the marketing people in the area and they went, I don't know about that. I think it's gonna fade. And then it just kept bringing me in. And with my real commitment of supporting micro and small business growth, especially in North Carolina, it's kept showing up as one of the most valuable tools for them to learn and use moving forward. Then in about 2009, I wrote my first book on social media because there was nothing out there on it in the area, and it was really a guide and a reference guide. Met up with a gentleman named Rob Lauder, and we offered a 10-session My Social Media Mastery program. In fact, we use a similar website now. And the goal was teaching the fundamentals, which it's sort of like it showed up, no one was teaching the fundamentals of it. That was a lot of fun. We did that a while. And then Rob wanted to move on to other things. I started taking it across the state. I've been teaching across the state for quite a while. And then following it, I teamed up with Honora Magaha and wrote a book on social media for small business. It's still on Amazon. Yes, thank you. Thank you for modeling the book there. Great. Still a real good fundamental book. And don't forget the website. There's a passcode for updates and stuff in it as well. And then moved on and wrote a book with Greg Heyer and are linking into sales using LinkedIn for sales. Following that, we really realized I wanted to do a social media management training because we had now worked for several years primarily with Whitney Hill of Carolina Web Consultants and created so much revenue for clients, we've got something to teach because we've got real training here. Launched the first one at the community college in Pittsburgh in the spring of last year. And then Karen came on in the fall. I've known Karen for about as long as I've known Whitney Hill back there. And we teamed up and taught the course in the fall. And now we've had two full versions of this class that we've taught and seen success with the students or testimonial videos you can see. And then we were talking to NC State and they wanted us to come here, and we thought it'd be great to be here. We actually had a conversation in 2009 with them, with Rob Lauder, about bringing that program here. And so that's what got us here. And Karen, would you tell a little bit about your background?
I'm the implementation end of the class. He's the academic end, mostly. I have an undergrad degree in chemistry and Russian, a master's in landscape design. I did that for a while. I worked in corporate process improvement for 20 years. Left that when all of that mess happened in 2008. I've been self-employed since then. And now I offer social media marketing services to clients. So I do Facebook for money. I get paid to be other people in Facebook and LinkedIn and Google+. And I've got my feet on the ground in what is it like to do this in a real small business environment. I've been doing web stuff since GeoCities. That was my first website. Yeah, I actually coded COBOL for a while, but I didn't like that. And on the side, and in the rest of my life, I'm a textile artist, where part of what got me into this was discovering how incredibly much traffic I could send to my site using Pinterest. And that started me on a Pinterest specialty, and I started teaching Pinterest in the area, and then got back up with Martin, who I've known
for a
I
long
think
time.
longer than Whitney.
I think so.
Because I
I
go
think so.
20 years, no.
Yeah, I think
years
so.
and stuff. And started when Honora wanted to go back into full-time writing, I offered to help teach this class, so I came back in. I'm also a professional hula hooper and a retired chainsaw carver.
Yes! And wrote a book on it,
Yeah,
chainsaw
my
carving.
first book was on chainsaw carving, yeah. Wow. So,
Quite an amazing moment.
Wow.
Really cool.
never bet against me.
That's right, that's right. Excellent, excellent. Anyway, why invest time in the training? You know, what is it worth it for you? And there is so much training on YouTube. We've had some fun questions that came up on the Facebook page. Why would anyone want to spend money on this? What's the use of it? You can learn it on YouTube. And so we just thought we'd open with some of those. Karen?
One thing we need to point out is this is a social media management class. We do not teach how to do Facebook. We don't teach how to do LinkedIn. We expect you to be literate or acquiring literacy in most of the social media platforms. If you're not fully versed in Instagram, that's cool, but the content of the course is management and how to develop a social media marketing plan for a business or a nonprofit using the tools, but we're not teaching the tools in the process of the class. What we have is a core competency flight, which is an 8-session 24-hour class where each night we go over one of the different major platforms showing you the ins and outs of how to use it. What I've seen is that free has a real high cost on both sides. I mean, people say you can do Facebook for free, well, right, but it sucks time like a bandit. And for most of us, the time has a dollar value. So does free training, searching around to find which is the best thing to use. And in my opinion, most of the free programs don't tie it all together for you. So what we offer in the certificate program is a coherent 42-hour step-by-step path through the process of developing a plan and a program for it with the understanding that you're doing this for a business or a nonprofit with some form of money at the end. I mean, we're not doing this, well, I guess nonprofit could be the goodness of your heart, but most of them are in it for fundraising. And we'll address, we'll talk about it a little bit later on, but we do address policy, how to have different people use it doing your social media, different employees, what is the ownership of your content, what do you need to think about for planning, timing, a lot of things that are bigger than I've seen any one free program offer.
Mm-hmm.
And along the way, it is a do-it-yourself in real time. So while you are in the class, one of the graduation requirements is that you do the work of developing a program. We'll show you the documents that are required.
And some are doing it for businesses, some of their own businesses, some are doing it to help someone out, but you're going to be developing some real accomplishment credentials by the end of the class, because you must produce this social media plan and policy as part of the class, and then you give a presentation at the end as well to just show you at least understand what you're doing with it. So we want to know that when you're out there and someone asks me, do you know a good social media manager, I can recommend someone in the class. So that's, to me, a real important thing. Another thing I'm very passionate about on it, because to me it doesn't always happen in education, is my personal commitment of marketing the people who took the class. So woven into that will be marketing of you, either marketing inside your business so that you are making sure you're projecting the value you're providing so they want to keep you, or if you're using it as a job transition, something we can work in that as well, but really that you are effective in marketing yourself in this and you get either more money, more security in your business, or whatever you want with this, you're going to accomplish that in the class.
The outline of the process we teach is loosely based on the PMBOK. I am not a PMP, so I'm not claiming that I know their stuff, but it is roughly following a 9-step process that I learned when I did big computer stuff. Starting with the inventory, what do you have? And it follows, this was a PowerPoint limitation, we're going this way and around. What do you have, what existing assets do you have in the social media world? Discovery is thinking of it in terms of a a service bureau and a client. What does the client want? What does your business want to achieve with the social media program? More money, more clients, more stuff, more what? It helps to really have a definition of what the goal is, because otherwise it's easy to spend lots of time in Facebook and get nothing done. Strategy, how are you going to go about it? What pieces of the social media universe are you going to use to achieve your plan? An audit, we call it the Digital 360. What's going on in your trade? Who's doing what? What are you doing? What is your competition doing? What are your cooperators? There's a different word for that, and I can't ever remember it. The people that you do business together with, and what are people doing outside your arena? For some people, that might be a totally different trade. One of our, the bar owner, looked at different bars in the area, nightclubs, and what were they doing. We also had a preacher in class last time, so it was kind of interesting.
He was selling something different.
Yeah, the different end of Saturday night to Sunday morning. And then he was looking at nightclubs around the country to find that some of them were making much better use of their Facebook money and getting a much higher result. So we encourage you to look at a respectable number of other people in your trade or in a similar trade, or in one that's nothing at all like yours, to get ideas. Develop a plan, and the plan is, again, based on PMBOK, but it's fairly detailed. We ask, plan, the big piece that we cover that a lot of people don't is policy. Developing a policy for your business so you have established standards for who can do what on your platforms, who can say what, depending. We had a couple of people come in with they marketed to children, which meant there were different layers on their Facebook policy than businesses that marketed to adults. Who could engage with children, who could not, who could put pictures of children. Similarly, the vet people had pictures of animals, who could do what kind of language was acceptable, what were you going to do with critical reviews. There's an awful lot in a policy statement. And including, we're not lawyers, we don't teach legal action, but we did raise the issue that it is tampering with evidence if you delete some of your social media content once the lawyers have called. And
So
the
that
fines
type of
on
stuff.
that are enormous.
Yeah.
And people don't know about this. And once you start doing what I call Facebook for money,
Yeah.
you have a responsibility. You are acting as a professional. You need to behave as a professional. You need to know what the world's going to think of you as a professional. You don't get to claim, well, I didn't know that was the case. Actually, the fine was $180,000 to somebody who deleted Facebook posts. Yeah, that'll get your attention, right? We're not talking, I'm not making up big money. $180,000 is big money, right? Launch is the kickoff, putting your plan into action. Some people are already in action. Launch is also where we cover things like how do you keep track of your logins and your passwords, and what do you do when you have 5 people using the same password, and where are you going to document this stuff. And then we have a loop over here, because most of that is a one-time action, and this is a maintenance project in a sense. How do you come up with content, post it regularly, run your calendars? What do you measure to see if it's working? What do you report on, either to your boss or to the client, depending on the relationship with who's signing the checks, and you may be the check signer, in which case it's not as important. We have one story in the archives of a man who did a fabulous job, it was at a funeral parlor, he ran the competition out of town. His advertising program was so good, and then the people paying his money said, well, we don't need you anymore. They left. And he went,
Right.
he forgot to report on profitability or increased business or anything. All they wanted was to get the other guy out of town. It worked, and he was out of a job.
So this is really important, because this is what often falls down in not communicating the value enough, and where we've seen people either lose clients or who aren't doing this. They might go, well, this is going okay, but we're gonna hire someone outside to do it, and then their job goes away. They might be doing a great job, but unless you know how to communicate that so they see the value, you can really have a lot of losses, and that's to me an important aspect to know with it.
Yes. And then close down is the process of turning it over. Either you decide to leave the client decides to leave you, and basically documenting a system so that someone else can come in. We do go a little bit into risk management and making sure you're protected. Not a huge, this isn't a security class, but part of protection is making sure that the people who own the information have access to the information. And if you're the owner, then you want to make sure you know where the logins are and how to get to the stuff so that when your account manager takes off, she doesn't take your Facebook content with her. Okay.
And so if you're working with someone in consulting, you have a clean shutdown or transfer over. They may decide you're an outside consultant and now they decide they want to do it in-house. Well, we've seen over the years of doing it, they'll pull it inside. Then if you handle it well, the pass off, they'll figure out the burden they have and they'll be calling you to come back. So there's a lot to the proper shutdown and transfer so that you keep the relationships going. And we even talk about that in the early stages. Are you setting it up so that it can move to someone else if they need to, as a way to create job security? So it's a real important piece. So
this is an outline of how we address some of these topics week by week. Initial inventory, discovery strategy, 360 plan takes a lot. There's an awful lot in the plan because you are addressing policy, content generation, risk management, configuration management for some people. Not everybody gets that far. And there are a couple other components that are optional under plan. But we do insist everybody develop a policy.
And before we go further, along with that, we do give examples and resources for you, and we'll have them we use the Google Drive as a way to store the content. So you'll have your own drive, we have access. So you're putting the information in it, but you kind of have templates to at least get you going. But there's definite guidelines we want you to accomplish so that you've covered all the main things. Did you have a question? No. Platforms. So one of the things that's important is really understanding of what are all the platforms and which is the best one. I really see social media as a process of understanding what is right for what that business, who is the customer, what is the profile of the customer we're looking at, where are they spending money. They might be on Facebook, but they tend to spend money on Pinterest. So understanding where they're making the buying decisions and so forth. And we have a mind map we build with just about every possible aspect that you can utilize, and then you get this mind map as a checkoff sheet. So you'll take it working with a client, you'll go through and go, we don't need this, we need that, we need to add on to this and other, and it's a way to make sure you've looked at all the aspects and all the possible ways someone could handle social media, so you're spending the time correctly. I've never been an advocate of what I call pray and spray marketing. This is especially with the new changes to the Google Hummingbird algorithm, doing this right and dialing it in correctly so it's leading towards conversion to a real customer is becoming more and more a tighter game that you have to pay attention to.
One of the examples, we had someone come in last time who thought she needed to be doing Twitter and didn't really want to, and looked at it and discussed it with us and went through her plan and looked at what other people in her field were doing and went, no, Twitter isn't going to work for us. And it doesn't work in that trade. There are very few people in her industry who are using Twitter successfully. They're all on Facebook and Pinterest because she's doing animals and they have pictures. That was where it was. It wasn't a tweeting field. So it saved her a lot of time. She felt a little bad about it because she thought that's what she needed to do. But when she looked at what her options were, where her client base was, they weren't on Twitter. And then there's some oddballs in here under Social for Creatives. There's Behance and House and some of the interior sites. So there's an awful lot of content in there besides just the Facebook and Pinterest and Google Plus that you might think of as first pass. Some people belong in different.
Original content, how much will be content curation? These are some of the things we utilize. Let's just stop, pause a minute. Questions, comments? In fact, go ahead.
These next several slides are some things we went over in class, and we had a very diverse audience. This was addressing some of the things that many people take for granted in the real world that exist in some extent in websites and even less extent in social. And it really helps to have a good model of what do you get in the real world with police protection, what do you get on a website when you can back it up. You get nothing in Facebook because Zuckerberg owns it. You don't own anything over there. It's not even really leased. So that you have to understand what parts are yours, what parts aren't. Huge understanding. And it's not hard. Copyright law is the easiest law to grasp, in my opinion. If you didn't create it, you don't own it. Public domain means the owner's been dead for 70 years. It does not mean I found it on the internet. But this becomes a big thing in policy, and you really have to understand it once you become the people with the deep pockets. You know, when you're a private citizen, generally they're not going to sue you over ownership because you don't have any money. But you start putting a .edu on your domain name, and all of a sudden people realize you will have money, and they'll come after you. You need to understand what's yours, what's not. We don't go a ton into email, but email marketing and understanding, again, also a policy, the Can Spam Act, with a $16,000 fine for every violation. You do need to understand how email marketing works, whether you're going to do it or not, and why you can't use your private email addresses for commercial purposes. We also talked, this was just a little bit about an automated follow-up sequence, and many people in class did not understand you could do this in email. And they had actually been receiving automated follow-up sequences when they sign up for some things, and they were like, oh, that's how it works. So we want to give you a grasp. If you're not going down the email path, this is not an email marketing mastery program, but most of the time you'd understand. If you go out for a job interview, they're going to talk about it as if you know it, and so we want to make sure people understand how it works and where email marketing fits into the scheme of social. This is a list, we'll go over this every week. These are the major documents we expect you to have completed. We start with templates, we have examples, and we talk about them. And then if you do them roughly in the order they're presented in class, you have a couple hours of homework a week and you get done on time. And if you don't, then it's like any other class, you have a real ugly last week. But there's the initial inventory, what do you have, what's out there with your name on it right now. And as somebody, I mean, some of you guys collectively in education had this trouble where lots of people own accounts that all have the same name on it. Well, whose cares, whose matters, who owns what, who's in control of this? Your discovery questions, what do you talk about with the owner, strategy, the audit, what did you look at when you went out and looked at other people in your field? What's your plan? We love it if you can do a WordPress website, and we have not yet marketed with sufficient advance notice to make that a requirement.
But we are teaching WordPress here because of it.
Yes.
We've learned over the time there's skills you just need.
And it depends on the size of the institution. For obvious reasons, NC State has a web development team. They're not going to let us or you go in and make your own website. Some other people, you may well be doing your own website, and clearly you know how to do them. So for smaller businesses, you may be developing the website. And it's real handy if you can get access to the back end of a website and make adjustments and send links in and out of your Facebook page and put in your social media icon. So that is not a requirement, nor is it a graduation criterion. It's simply there. And depending again on your business, we ask that you create a launch plan. If it has confidential information in it, like passwords, it's not necessary you share it with us. We just want to have enough of a conversation with you about it that you've thought through how are you taking care of passwords and logins. Because it's a non-trivial issue once you're doing something for money and once there's two of you. And it's one thing to remember your own passwords, but I am 8 people in Facebook today and 6 in Google+. And that's tricky because I have to make sure I'm being the right person when I go in there and I'm posting something on a wedding florist that's a little bit different from what the realtor sees. Now these excerpts here are direct quotations, pretty much, a little bit anonymized, from the final presentation. The last week of class, last week and a half really, was a 5-minute presentation from each person about what they learned. And that's a requirement, and if you're not a great public speaker, that's cool, you can stumble through it and we'll help you, but we still want to hear what you learned. And we took some notes. The first one was a bar owner who doubled his reach for no more money. At the beginning of the class, he was thinking of selling. By the end of the class, he was no longer talking about selling, and he seemed pretty confident that he could get through an academic summer without going broke. Because that's a hard time. It's easy in October, but August is pretty nasty. This is another one. We have a brewer who has a real big vision for a very rural county that's not doing economically very well, and he sees his brewery as being key to revitalization of the economy. And part of the class, he really enlarged his vision, because for him, it was looking back at the strategy. What was the purpose of the brewery? What were they doing? Besides just making beer, he'd gotten his nose kind of down in the hops. And he was able to step back and see where his business fit in the county and in the region. And he's rural, but not so far that you can't get there from here.
So I have to tell you quick, Karen, I was teaching last week there.
Yes.
And the class knew about him because they had noticed the changes occur.
Oh,
really neat. They didn't know he was in our class. And they go,
Oh.
well, he's now one of the models of Facebook in the area.
Oh,
So I was
yeah,
really proud of that,
yeah.
you know, to hear the feedback. I went, oh, that's one of our graduates there. So it was really exciting. Go ahead.
Yeah.
And he came, I want to really say, he came in with a lot of knowledge to start
Right,
with.
they're
That's why I
good.
was
They're
so
not
excited.
zero.
Yeah, right.
But it was definitely a much bigger picture for
Yeah.
him of having been engaged in the business of starting the brewery, and then realizing that this county that used to be vibrant because it's textile money, you know, and now has been pretty much a poor stepchild of some of us, is about to, you know, is now poised to come back, largely as a bedroom community, but bedroom communities drink beer. We had a lot of lessons. I actually can't remember who this was exactly, but someone whose life was, I'm thinking I know who it is now, very busy, just did not know that you could schedule Facebook posts on a business page so she could batch them on Sunday night and have them go out over the rest of the week. And she was learning an awful lot about
So we
what
are
her
dipping
customers-
in some of the techniques that are relevant, especially around management of it. So
Yeah.
that's important, yeah.
The passwords, URL platforms, and once you've got more than one client, more than one person going on, this can be a nightmare. We had some systems for helping with that. Even acknowledging that we know it's a nightmare. I mean, if you know it's going to be a problem, it really helps going in instead of going, oh my God, what was I that week? One family, it's a family business on the side. Two people have two different day jobs. They sell something on the side, and they're doing really well, and I think it's a really good product. And the husband was the designer and the engineer, and a very reluctant participant in social media, and he was just slowly starting to see that actually LinkedIn, there are a lot of people who buy his product on LinkedIn, and she was pushing it into Facebook. They're not there yet. Using a calendar and how to think through your content, the way reporters and journalists do.
Yes, the social media plan, ideas of how to keep the content flowing, yeah.
Templates and assignments so that
Yeah.
you developed it through. That was someone in your trade actually doing client management for a lot of things. And then someone, she realized she was doing a whole lot more and a whole lot more professionally. She was running 4 practices, doing the major social media practice business for a 4-practice business.
I do want to say that one of the most exciting things in that case is learning the importance of communicating the value to the boss. So some of the additional resources is we add the graduates to the website. If you'll make a note, it's called mysocialmediamastery.com. And then also we work with the closed Google community. So you will want to be on Google+. If you're not, no problem. I have instructional videos to get you on it. But we have a closed community where we discuss everything during the class. And then we have a graduate community, and then a community for supporting each other, and then we have a monthly hangout you can choose to be part of. So you keep up with the trend after the course, and that's something, as long as we can, I want to keep looking for adding more value to the graduates, because to me, the one thing, and personally, the education fails the most in is what happens after they graduate. You know, how are they doing with that, other than trying to get them to give money back? You know, how are you helping add value? And that's my interest because I will be teaching referral marketing in the course. And I'll say at the beginning of the class, our goal is that you want to recommend people to the class, by the success you have. And then along with it, we'll have a mid-course optional get-together, a social networking, which is I really enjoy. We have a certificate from Martin Brosnan Associate and State that's complete and professional and has an emblem on it, and I'm pleased, and a logo you can put on your LinkedIn profile. So you have, when you talked about adding value, I really want to get that you have both competency and the marketing material to really add value to.
Yeah. And those are our personal phone numbers,
Yeah.
so if you have questions outside of this, feel free. During class, I am more available. Martin is on the road and teaches full-time. Because I do Facebook for money, I have more time flexibility, and I tend to be the one who will take your calls. And so far, I'm free to take as much conversation as you need.
You can hear the phone over the chainsaw.
Actually, retired, right? Yeah.
That's right. I do want to say it really works well if you team up with somebody. A lot of people, we had at one of the classes we had, since it was in Pittsburgh, we had people carpooling. So they're, it really paid off then. We had, just so you know, we've had people driving from New Bern to Pittsburgh once a week for the course, because when they looked online, if you look for comparable courses, they can be several grand. And I guarantee this is equal or better to any of those. Our conversation is, since I have so much passion for smaller businesses, it's affordable for a smaller business to send someone to do it. So, I'm sure we'll be having to go up over time. And you get 2 instructors. That was another big deal. It really makes a difference. So, we both bring different things to the table, and we discuss what's going on to make sure people get it. So. Good, yeah.
I'll just ask, has everybody actually signed up for it yet?
I think you've signed up.
I've signed up, and
Yeah.
I signed up for the WordPress one also. The
Right.
reason I'm asking is when I called the other day, it was filling up rapidly.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to say if it was something you want to do, and they're not paying me to say this.
Yeah.
But you should.
But we will later.
Yeah. And we
That's not
did.
another drink at Mark.
That's right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we had. I'm glad you mentioned. We had 12 people on the waiting list that from the last class, and so it's really sad when people really want to get in, they just didn't move fast enough. So, and when you get more questions, please ask. I want to answer all your questions. I gotta tell you, my name's going behind each one of you. So I want it the right fit for you. I want to have a conversation. I need winners out of this. You understand? This is not, my interest isn't the class. My interest is people actually getting results in the world. That's what gets me excited about it. I love teaching, but I'll just be a stand-up comic if it's just to entertain people.
I have a comment
Yeah.
because I've been here for 16 years now, and we've offered a lot of new classes, and usually it takes a year or 2 brochure cycles before people even see it and are interested. And this is the first time we've offered this, and it's the first time we put it in our brochure. And this one is, people are very interested in this stuff. This is going to be big.
It's selling itself.
Well, good. Good. We'll get out
That's
there.
exciting. Yeah, thanks. Okay, go
Will
ahead.
this be the second iteration of
No, this is the third.
Okay.
Third.
Well, actually, it's the 4th or 5th of teaching, but as far as calling it social media management, it's the 3rd class
Okay.
we've taught.
Because I get your emails and
Yeah.
I've seen this class.
You're
and
seeing
pictures of the
micro.
graduating
There are pieces of
classes.
this being taught around the state. It's just the thing is this takes a lot of attention. There's a lot of work because you got a project. We'll make sure you're getting competency. I do tell people one thing: the social media world is like being on an island that has random earthquakes all the time. So what I'm going to be teaching you is how to live in this new world. And it really is a paradigm shift. I live in it, and I've taught, we had someone who had a very successful business cleaning houses that changed her whole career. And she knew everything that went on. So learning to know a scope and realize there are areas you won't know is part of the training of how to live in that world effectively. because it's moving, and we'll talk about how you keep up to date with it as well. It is a moving dynamics that's going to keep changing. And then just one more thing is we'll be talking about you want to watch the wave. There's a crest of the wave of the new stuff. When do you need to jump in with your client and getting that developing of knowing? You know, you like when Hummingbird came out, I went, oh no, I better start learning right now. You know, and then which one are the big shifts that you need to know? We're big on ending on time. We'll stick around a minute. Thank you so much for coming. It was great. Excited to have you here, and hope it works out for all of you to be in the class, and really excited to help someone who's wearing a Wolfpack t-shirt and helping out. We know you'll be a great asset to us. There are, right. Are you alumni too? Oh yeah, okay, great, right on. Please pass on to the alumni groups, you know. We'd love to get more alumni, right, Whitney? Yeah, get it out in the alumni system.